AEW does not care about their women's division. Those are the exact words that I'm seeing all over Twitter, and in all honesty, I don't agree, but hey, AEW has made a huge change to their women's division, and more specifically, a championship match, and a lot of people are outraged, and I just simply don't get it. So we're going to talk about it right here on DPW, all the news, all the details coming up in just a second.
You have arrived at your destination.
All right, guys, my name is Tony from Destination PW, and yes, we are talking about AEW, and more specifically, the Women's Championship match that was scheduled to take place January 1st, 2020, Riho versus Kris Statlander. And of course, this has been very, very controversial for some reason, because Kris Statlander actually has an indie booking that day, and well, of course, fans are outraged because AEW did the good thing and said, hey, don't worry about it, you can have your championship match the week after, and go ahead and work your indie event. And it's really weird because pro wrestling fans since beginning of AEW have been asking for an alternative to WWE and Impact and New Japan. And let's just face the facts, these companies would have not done what Tony Khan and AEW have done here. So again, wrestling fans being hypocritical yet again. And it's just so common at this point. It's becoming it's becoming less rare. It's becoming more annoying, but in all honesty, I think this is actually the best thing that could happen for AEW. So if you've already made it to this part of the video, I'm going to encourage that you guys stay just for a couple more minutes because I think this makes a lot of sense. Yes, AEW is allowing their number one contender to compete at an indie event instead of their live television show. But they've also gone the extra mile to say, hey, you are going to compete the following week for the title. So even though you have this commitment, we're still going to let you have this championship match. We're still going to do this for you. And fans are upset. But what I like about this is it actually gives AEW an opportunity to kind of slow things down a little bit. Kris Statlander is obviously taking off, and a lot of people are saying that this is a rocket ship push, which basically means in the last 3 or 4 weeks, Kris Statlander has just immediately flown to the sky, and she's obviously getting pushed pretty heavily. And who can blame AEW for making that decision? Bea Priestley, Britt Baker just simply aren't connecting with the crowd as much as AEW would hope, and Kris Statlander is, and in all honesty, it just makes a lot of sense. Now, it's really weird with AEW's women's division because it did start off pretty slow, but we're starting to see a little bit more emphasis on it, and I think a lot of this is credit to Kenny Omega, so let's just give him the props, but let's give AEW their props first and foremost. They have replaced this match with what I assume will be a really good match. I predict that this match will be good, and that is going to be Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose versus Riho for the Women's Championship. And this is going to take place on January 1st, 2020 for the Women's Championship. And the Women's World Championship belt is on the line the following week. So whoever wins this week will defend the belt against Kris Statlander. So when we talk about this rocket ship push, one that's immediately sent to the sky, everybody is all for Kris Statlander. So what if AEW did something to pivot away from that, only to get people more behind Kris Statlander? And maybe while you're at it, you can definitely put over a heel. Well, if I'm AEW and I assume the creative role, I would actually give Nyla Rose the championship. That's right. This Fatal 4-Way match, I want Nyla Rose winning the match. You guys hate Nyla Rose. You guys put your political views and public views all together and your personal values, and I get it. But this is pro wrestling, and I would take advantage of it. If I'm AEW, a lot of people are hating on Nyla Rose. I would use that as a way for Nyla Rose to not only become the top heel in the women's division, but also the top heel in the company. Nyla Rose has a very interesting entrance, moveset. There's a very compelling story that you can have here with Nyla Rose taking the belt off of Riho, perhaps by cheating. And, it's at this point where I think it's safe to say that she is the heel. She's one of the more dominant heels in the company and in the women's division specifically. And I think having her win and successfully defending the belt the following week against Kris Statlander allows for some really good storytelling. Now, I know there isn't a general manager in AEW just yet, which, by the way, there is a video on the channel that you guys could watch where we talk about this possible change happening. Since there's no authority figure, let's just imagine there is an authority figure. Imagine AEW utilizing real life stories as part of their storyline. You know, an authority figure who is a heel. Yes, heel authority figures have been overused in pro wrestling, but AEW is pretty much lacking only one thing, and that is a sense of direction moving forward. This can help them. So imagine a heel general manager who goes to Kris Statlander and says, you don't get the opportunity after this. Like, you lost to Nyla Rose. You chose an indie wrestling event over us. You know, you don't get this opportunity. And of course, this entire time of Kris Statlander being held back, you start to really see her push for that championship match, which eventually she gets and eventually she wins. It just makes things a lot more better in quality and storytelling. Her push is great, but it's rushed. And this kind of just allows for organic growth. It allows for people to get behind her. And the people who don't hate Nyla Rose, the ones who are fans of Nyla Rose, will eventually start to hate Nyla Rose because she's taken away this opportunity from Kris Statlander. So to me, that's just the way I would do it. I think this is a perfect time for AEW to pivot and still put focus on her. But you know what? Don't rush it right away. People love compelling storytelling. And if you can do that, and I think this way you absolutely can, if you can do that, it just makes more sense. So like I said, guys, imagine Nyla Rose wins this 4-way match. AEW now starts to make fans really want Kris Statlander to win, and it eventually happens. But meanwhile, you also built up this dominant heel in your company. I think it's just a win-win situation for everybody, and that's what I would do. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But hey, don't forget, DPW Champions starting at $1 a month, and you guys can follow me on Twitter at Tango with Tango. All right, guys, more pro wrestling news, conversations, analysis, rumors, all that good stuff. I will see you guys right here on DPW. Thanks for watching. Peace.
You have arrived at your destination.